So hello everyone and welcome to CodeCorp. First of all, thank you so much for the response on the latest video that was the migration from Spring 2.7s or from JDK 11. So for the everything you can use openly, right? We had explained all of these in the earlier video. In this video, we have seen like multiple of the people are facing issues with Spring Security 6. So earlier we have implemented something, but let's forget all that. Let's start from scratch again because in the earlier video we will be having some like confusion. So let's keep it a very simple video to implement Spring Security. And for that, you need to first go to my GitHub, go to the GitHub repository, and first of all, go to this profile, or I'll ping you the link of this particular repository in chat, or I would say in description. So first of all, what you need to do, you need to go to this Spring Security branch, okay, and what you need to do here, I have created this new branch. So first of all, you need to check this code out and see whatever the changes that we are gonna do in this video. And then we have created this feature branch for like whatever we are gonna do in this video, we'll post that changes to this branch. Okay. So currently, if you will see, this Spring Security latest is in sync with the Spring Security. That is, this branch has been created from that previous video branch only. So what we are gonna do, what's the agenda of this particular video is, first we are gonna use DB for the role-based authentications, that we are gonna have two roles that is by default provided by user, or I would say JDBC user repository, user detail service, that is admin, and but I would say the next one is users. Okay, so that two users we are gonna have. Based on those two users, we are gonna put the authorization on particular endpoints. Okay, so second, we that I just said, we're gonna secure our endpoints with those things, and we're gonna register user on a separate page. So let's go ahead with this tutorial. So first of all, you need to go to your this checked out code and check the branch. Okay, so as I am doing the implementation, so I have changed the branch to Spring Security latest. It is totally in sync with the Spring Security. So what I have done nothing till now. Whatever I will do, you can also do that, but just check out the Spring Security and follow the tutorial with me. So first of all, you need to go and check whatever the implementation that we have. First of all, go to this bean implementation, this authentication provider. We are not going to use this. So just remove this from here. Okay, for now, remove it. It is removed. Go to your controllers, user controllers. We are going to use it, but we are going to not use user repository. So just remove it as well. Okay, remove whatever implementation we are having here. We don't need that. Okay, control save. Go to your CRUD controller. We are not going to do any change for now. We'll do later. Before that, just don't do anything with that. Go to the movie controller model. You're not going to do anything with this model. So we are going to keep it as it is. Delete this user model from here, as Spring will take care of it. It is very complicated procedure for now. Just start with basic. Okay, so I'm starting with basic. Just remove it. I'm deleting it. Delete user model. Delete user detail IMPL. Sorry. Delete user repository. Okay. So now we have a very simple application. We have just bypassed this Spring Security configuration. And why do we implement this? First of all, why do we have to implement our own security filter chain? Why do we need to do that? Because the default implementation that is provided by Spring, we have to do some modification in that. So if you will see here in this file, Spring Security web configurations, and you will see here, so I have enabled the documentation as well. So here you will be able to see the default configuration for web security. It relies on the Spring Security content negotiation strategy to determine what sort of authentication to use. Okay. If user specifies their own security filter chain bean, this will back off. So if you are not implementing that, then your Spring Security will gonna use form-based login, HTTP based login, and they are gonna not provide any filtration on your, and they are gonna create a bean of default security with the name of default security filter chain. Okay, so this is by default implementation. To override this implementation, what we do, we create a config class. We use these two annotations, and then we create this bean of security filter chain. In this security filter chain, you can play with your endpoints. Okay, so suppose I don't want any of the authorization or any authentication to this endpoint. So what I will do for that, I'll create a I'll do like request.request matchers, and I'll permit all the any request that is coming from this endpoint. I'll permit all. Rest all will get authenticated. Okay, and we are gonna not use form-based logins. So that for that we are gonna have this HTTP basic, and we are also gonna make this session stateless, which means we are gonna not allow the application to save cookies. So for that thing, we have created a session policy that is stateless. Okay, so till now, I think pretty much everything is clear. Now, if I will run this application till now, then what it will do, as we have removed everything, or let me first build it. Okay, we have something that is need to be changed. User repository we are using here in user controller, in user detail service. So we have a service. So this is there. Let's delete it. In user controller, we don't have this particular. So let's change it to a string, as we have deleted the model. So now all the errors are gone. Let's build again. Ambient clean install. I hope it gets built now. So yeah, it is happening. It is getting built. So you can see build is success. Now let's run the application. So remember in the previous video when we were first running, we were getting some security password here, right? So now to look for an endpoint, to search for an endpoint, get all movies, we need to pass that user. With user, we need to pass that token that generated. So now you'll be able to see all the movies. Okay. So this is by default name. You can change these Spring username and password in your application.property file, but this is for like dev testing. But what happens in like product, in a final product, you don't do the username and username and password hard coded in your application. You just fetch them from a DB. Okay. So to do that, what we will do, we have to first create a bean of user detail service. We need to first create a bean of user detail service. Why do we need to create a bean of user detail service? Because that will establish a connection with your database, and that will be having all the user, as you can see the name suggests that will be having all the information related to the users. It will be having all the whatever the authenticated manager that you have given here in this bean, that is all there. So let's create public user detail service. So before moving with the DB, let's try to create a simple user. Okay, so for that you need to create an object of user detail, user1, and what we will do here, we need to create a user with the chain of responsibility pattern. User dot with username is CodeCorp dot with the builder design pattern we are doing. Sorry, not chain of responsibility, with the builder design pattern we are doing this. Dot password, but we are going to provide password ABC123. Okay, so for first demo, I am giving the password directly, but you need to give a password encoder. Like your password should not be saved directly as it is in the DB as a string. It should be encoded to some text and then it gets saved, so that it is any DB admin can read your username and password and they can misuse it. So for that purpose, we generally do an encode and then provide it to the DB. And in here, you need to give roles. So I am giving you a role as user, and I'm gonna create an object of this dot build. So this user1 object has been created with this username, this password, and this roles. Okay, and here we are gonna have an object of authenticated manager. So we are gonna create a in-memory user detail manager. In-memory user detail manager, we are gonna use it, and we are gonna create an object of this. And what's gonna do? It will be having all the details for all the users. Okay, so we have to create a user using user detail manager. Create user. Here I'll pass the user1, and then we are gonna return this bean has been created, and it's having all the information like what are the users, what are their roles, what is the password. Everything will be returned as a part of user detail manager. Okay, so now it is done. We need to create a bean of it. And let's try to run our application again. You can see we have created a user. This is an in-memory user detail manager. So the whatever the user that has been created are gonna save as long as are gonna be there as long as the application is running. Once your application is down, then all the data related to the user is lost. And once you run again your application, then when this bean will get created, then the user details will get created. All the users will get created during the bean creation only. So let me run this. It's getting cyclic dependency. Okay, we are auto wiring it in here as well. So do not auto wire it. Just try to run it again. I think everything is fine till now. Now just try to log in. As you can see, we have configured something. So that's why the by default username and password are not getting printed that are there in earlier. And we are also not able to use it now. Okay, you can see it's giving an error. Now let's try to use our details that we have given in here in this method while creating user detail service, which is CodeCorp and ABC123 we are given. Okay, let's try to access with this. If you will go here, write CodeCorp, and if you will write ABC123. Okay, it's all coming. What's the error that we are getting? Some error is there. You have entered a password with no password encoder. Okay, if this is your intent, it should be prefixed with no op. So yeah, you can see the Spring itself giving an error to us or suggestion. Like if you are giving a password directly, either you should give a password encoder, and if you are not giving a password encoder, just use this keyword before your password. We'll copy this and paste it here, and we'll rerun our application. It's running again. Let's try to hit now. Whatever the Spring was saying, we did that. Now let's try to end. Congratulations, you are able to access with the user in-memory user that you have just created. Now what's the second step? So we have not yet started our agenda. Okay, we were doing with the in-memory users. Now our first step is create a DB and connect our application with the DB and use this table, create this table and all. That we need to do first. Okay, so for that, we have a different type of user detail managers. Okay, so in-memory user detail manager, it's gonna work until and unless your application is running. And if your application is stopped, your data is lost. You have no information. What are the users that we are having? What's the password of them? Are they able to access the applications or it's running? That is not there. So for that purpose, we have a different user detail manager as well. That is JDBC user detail manager. We need to create an object of that. New JDBC user detail manager. And if you will go inside it, you can see it also wants data source with it. And what is a data source? Data source is nothing. Whatever the URL that you are having in here in this application.properties, this data source URL, username, user password. So this gets stored by default with the Spring in your like when the bean gets generated. So by default, a bean of data source just gets created, which have all these information. So what you want to do when you are configuring JDBC user detail manager, it should have all the values whatever there as a data source. So what will you do? You will auto wire the data source here. Okay, so data source and data source, we will auto wire this and use this to create an object of JDBC user detail manager. Now we don't need this in-memory user detail manager, so we're gonna stop it. And we also don't want to create user like this. We want to create a user using user controller. Okay, so we'll move this code of user detail creation as well. So first set up this user detail manager. So we're gonna return this JDBC user detail manager. Okay, we will also move this code of user creation, user object creation from here to that to the endpoint, which is open for all. Okay, so first of all, let's try to run this. So before running this, you need to do some other things as well. You need to create a table. Okay, so for that, you need to go to Spring Securities GitHub in here, and you need to search for the file name user.ddl. Okay, from here, copy all these, whatever is there, just copy all these, and wherever your MySQL is running, just run these commands as well. Okay, so first of all, if these tables are already there in your database, just delete them and then create table. Okay, so I'll create a table with username. So I'll just run this query. Username, this table has been created. So whatever is there on this GitHub, I have just copied these things only. Okay, I am not adding anything from my side. I have just running these. Either you can run through an SQL schema or like SQL script, or you can just go ahead and create like this, the old school way. Create authority table as well and create an index. And if you will see like start from user, no user is there. You can see empty thing is coming. Okay. Now what we have to do, currently if you will run your application, then your application will run with this one user in your DB table. Okay. So what we can do, we can just remove this code as well. Remove this code. Okay. We'll register our user directly at the endpoint. Okay. So what we are gonna do now, we are gonna open this controller, and here we'll create a user detail object like this. Okay. You want to take data from user as a request body or request parameters, anyway you can use that. Okay. And we'll be having one that JDBC user detail manager in here as well. We need to create an object of this also. New JDBC user detail manager we need to create, and here we need to pass data source. Data sources need to be auto wired here as well. Data source. Okay, we need to return in here. We need to create a user using this user detail manager, user1, and we are saving it directly. Okay, just change it to okay, user is fine, and we are returning a message, user registered successfully. Okay, so let's see what are we passing during the registration procedure. So before that, if you don't want to store your password like this, you need to create a separate bean of password encoder, bean of public password encoder, return password encoder in here. Okay, we need to create a bean of this. Once bean is created, we need to encode our password that we are gonna create in our user detail service. So just use this bean, whatever is there, password encoder, and then we can use it. Okay. So let's do it in here, user details. So let's auto wire our bean. Password encoder, encode, and from there you can use that password encode, and in here you need to pass your password, raw password that is there. Okay, I think everything else is fine. So you have created a bean of password encoder, and the name is encode, or you can remove D also, encode, change it to encode, and here your password will get encoded, encode.encode, and it will encode the ABC123 to something else, and then your user will get created successfully. So let's try to run this flow. Okay, so I'm stopping it, trying to run it. Let's see. I hope it doesn't show any error. Started successfully. We will see in our DB. So currently, as we can see, we are not having any users. Let's try to create one user. We'll go in here in the body. Okay, we can pass anybody here, but from headers or from parameters, just remove this. Body is there. So we are not passing, or I would say we are not getting data from users, right? So we need to do that. Take data from users. So for that we need to create a DTO. Let's ignore that all thing, just create some request parameters. Okay, you need to create a request body, but for that you need to create a user DTO here, and then from there you need to get the data. So I'm avoiding that things. I'm just creating a simple string. Okay, username, request parameter, string, password, request parameter. The last thing is string role. Okay, so we are gonna pass role here, ROLE, and we are gonna pass password here, and we are gonna pass username here. I think pretty much everything is done. Let's try to run the application again. So this time we don't pass the parameters from body. Let's mark it as empty. We are gonna use this username, password, and role. I hope everything is as expected. Let's check our parameters and match the username, password, everything is small, role R capital. So let's copy it and paste in here. R is capital. Okay, it's like this. So let's see if user gets created or not. Let's try to run this endpoint. We're getting user registered successfully. Let's go to our DB and check if user is there or not. See, Rishabh, SHARM is there, and we have password as well, and this security is also enabled. Okay, now let's try to access with one of our endpoint. So here, if you will go to this endpoint with this name CodeCorp and this password ABC123, then it's not gonna work because we have changed the password and we don't have this user registered in our application. See, 401 unauthorized is coming. If we want to register this user, let's register. Username, CodeCorp, password ABC123. Role we are gonna assign admin. Send. User registered successfully. Now let's check in our DB. Run this command again. You can see CodeCorp, password is encrypted, and we have a user. Now earlier you were able to see like we were not able to access 401 was coming. Now let's try to send this request. Congratulations, you are having all the data now because this user has been registered to your application successfully. So till now everything is fine. We are able to register users on our application with username, password, whatever we are providing as a body, and we are also able to access all the endpoints. Now we have to do what we have to do. This first step is done. Use DB for user management and with roles. This is happening. Secure our links and register user is also happening. So step 1 and step 3 are happening. Let's secure our links with this. So for that, Spring has provided an amazing annotation that is pre-authorize. Okay, so at every endpoint or at every whatever endpoint which you want to secure, suppose this delete functionality, I only want to give it to the admins, not to users. Okay, so for that, what we are gonna do, we need to pre-authorize this, and here we are gonna do use this pre-authorize. Okay, and it has something like has role, and within here you give something like admin. So something like this happens. Let's see if it is fine. Okay, and similarly for one of the functionality, suppose for get mapping, we are gonna pre-authorize to users only. Okay, so let's see if this changes works. For delete, we have enabled only admins can delete, and for this we can have like only users can do a get mapping. Okay, only users can get all the list of the movies, and only admins can delete movies from the list. So let's run our application. So what we will do, first we will try to access, as the application is running, first we'll try to access this endpoint, that is get a movie with an ID. Okay, so we already have an endpoint here. You can see get a movie with ID 6 is there. Let's try to access it. It's asking for authorization. What is the authorization we have? Do we remember the password? CodeCorp ABC123 is there. Let's search CodeCorp ABC123. Okay, so do admin have access to this? Let's check in our code. Do admin have access to this? No. We can visit it. In our security configuration files, we need to enable method based. Enable method security. Okay, then only that post authorization pre-authorization should work. If I will run this now, so you can see whatever the roles which are having this authorization, if you will go here, So this is an admin role. So admin role is having access to this particular endpoint. Okay, as we can see in our code, the admin role is having the access to have a look on this particular endpoint. Where is it? Here you can see admin have the access to look at this endpoint, and in here we should change it to user. Okay, let's reverse this. Okay, in here we are keeping user, and in here we will keeping admin. Okay, so now everything is done. User will not be allowed to delete the movie from the DB, and admin will not allowed to get all the movies or get movies with the ID. Okay, so let's check if this works or not. An admin endpoint. Okay, so this is an admin user, and he's trying to access this endpoint, that is movie 6, movie with ID, which is this method. If you will see here, which is this method, this one. So here we have pre-authorized it with user role, but we are trying to access it with admin role. So let's try to access it. You can see 403 forbidden is coming. Okay, if we will try to access this endpoint with user role. Okay, so this CodeCorp user is having a user access. So if we try to access it with this role, then we'll be able to access it. Okay, so this method seems to be working perfectly fine. So this is how we'll be able to access or pre-authorized a method based on the user roles. But for this, just remember, I have just forgotten. I was just missing this annotation, enable method security, so that you can pre-authorize, post-authorize your method-based security. So you should try that. You should not forget this one. Okay, I was forgetting it. That's why it was causing the issue. So let's try to end another endpoint. Let's try to check or test this endpoint, which is delete movie with this ID. So for that, let's see if we have any request. Post request delete mapping. Do we have any? Okay, I think we don't have. Let's check what's the endpoint, and we'll create a delete mapping. The endpoint is delete with ID. So it's nothing, just we need to change it to that movie ID to delete ID. We need to change. Okay, so this movie ID is here. We need to, ID is passed as path variable. So in here movie ID was also passed as path variable. So here we need to change it to delete. So let's go and change it to delete. Okay, so the issue was here with method not allowed with the user, because we were trying to delete an ID with the user role. Okay, and here we have given this role as admin, so only admins are allowed. So in here we were passing this request, and we tried to delete the method, but it was saying methods not allowed. That is because we are passing a get request here. So I forgot to check what we are passing. So just like I've noticed just now, we are passing a get request. We need to pass a delete request. So let's see if admin is able to delete a movie with ID 6. Movie with ID 6 successfully deleted. So if we'll go and check all the movies that are there, let's see 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, but movie with ID 6 is not there because it's deleted. So let's try to delete with this movie that is with ID 11. Let's try to delete this. Okay, again, just for checking. So if I am passing this ID 11 here, and if I am passing the same admin role, then it's get deleted. But let's try to check with this user role. Okay, so let's see if we are able to delete this with user role. User 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the credentials for the user role. So let's try to delete it. You can see we are not able to delete it. This is forbidden. So again, so the issue that we were getting due to the method was not found, that is method not allowed, was due to get request. We were passing a get request for the request delete mapping. So now we have fixed it, and now you can see all the functionalities are working fine. So I'll push this code. So now everything seems to be working fine. So I'll push this code to GitHub, whatever the changes that we have made. Let's check. In the security config, we did some changes. We removed the authentication provider and all. We created our own user detail service in CRUD controller. We have added this delete mapping and all. Okay, so all these things we have done. We have removed everything, and we have added pre-authorized here on the 2 endpoints. You can simply, as an homework, or I would say as your learning procedure, you can try adding these roles on the others method that we have just created. I'll commit this code, and you'll be able to check it out from this Spring Security latest branch. So for your learning purpose, just try to start with this branch, Spring Security branch, and then all the code, if you get stuck somewhere, then all the code there that is there in the Spring Security latest branch. Okay, so For now, I'll leave you with these code changes. I'll push this code and I'll meet you in the next video. Just let me know if you are loving this security series. Then we are gonna go ahead with JWT tokens, and then we are gonna go ahead with OAuth 2. OAuth 2, I will surely do a video on that, like how to using third-party application like Google or GitHub. You logged into some of the application. We are gonna do that on this one only. And you let me know if you are more interested in security related videos, and if not, just let me know whatever you are interested. I'll create a video on this similar to like open rewrite and all that we are doing earlier. So until then, I'll meet you in the next video. If you like the video, just like, share and subscribe. I'll meet you in the next video. Thank you.